Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take massive stacks of documents, research, and notes, and, well, we give you the fast track to being the most informed person in the room.
Yeah, no small task.
No, not at all. And today we are strapping in for, I think, a particularly intensive one. It's a high-stakes analysis of political conspiracy, shifting loyalties, and the dangerous intersection of mercenary honor and ancient weaponized magic.
Yeah, and our source material for this deep dive is this incredibly detailed set of confidential accounts. They detail the recent, really dramatic events surrounding the escape of Prince Edmir of Tegrian.
And what's so fascinating, and you pointed this out to me earlier, is that these accounts force us to look past the usual military calculus.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just about who won which battle. This is a profound examination of how integrity specifically codified in this mercenary ethical system they call the common rule, how that drives action.
Even in the face of overwhelming odds.
Exactly. We're watching characters face powerful political deception and the raw magical power of the infamous Blue Mage Avylos. And they choose their inner code over, political expediency. That ethical pivot is the core engine of the entire narrative.
Okay, so let's unpack the mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We are going to meticulously track the improbable escape of Prince Edmir from a heavily guarded Nisvian war camp.
Right. And we'll follow his protectors, the mercenary brothers, Dhulyn Wolfshead and Parno Lionsmane, as they uncover this massive, really calculated deception orchestrated by the Blue Mage.
And finally, we will detail the confrontation that hinges on a powerful, stolen, magical artifact known as the Muse Stone. An artifact which, it changes hands and shatters identities along the way.
It really does.
So our mission is to distill the psychological and ethical insights from this whole political maelstrom. Let's dive right into the heart of the initial conflict. It all begins, really, with a very bloody battlefield autopsy.
So our story opens in the Valley of Lamona. This is immediately following what was officially declared a decisive Nisvian victory over the Tegriani invaders.
Right.
And Dhulyn and Parno, our mercenary brothers, are under contract with the Nisvians. So initially, Dhulyn, she's the scholar and the seer of the partnership, she's outwardly satisfied. She even notes that her enhanced sight.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. We hear about her sight constantly in these documents. Let's nail down what she's actually relying on here. How do these viratiles work? Are they, physical objects?
That's a great question, because it really speaks to the source of Dhulyn's unique perspective. The sources indicate that viratiles are small, carved, physical focuses, usually polished wood or stone, and they help channel and stabilize her natural latent ability known as the sight.
So it's not prophecy in the, crystal ball sense.
Not at all. For Dhulyn, who comes from the Espadrini, the Red Horseman culture, sight is more of a heightened perceptual state. It allows her to glimpse potential timelines, probabilities. The tiles act like a lens, bringing that blurry potential into sharp focus.
So when her sight predicted a Nisvian victory against odds, she had every reason to trust that prediction.
She did. But the moment Parno Lionsmane, the chanter, looks over the slaughter, his professional soldier's intuition immediately tells him that something is deeply wrong.
The interpretation is wrong, at least.
Exactly. He's looking at the human cost and realizing the equation just doesn't add up. Parno describes the scene less as a battle and more as a slaughter.
And this is where the source material gets intensely specific, right? His account details that the dead Tegriani faces. They show surprise.
A shock of betrayal. Not the grim resignation of a beaten army. They were expecting to survive or, maybe even win.
That expression of shock is the first analytical crack in the entire political structure.
It is. Parno realizes that the odds Dhulyn's sight predicted were only odds because everyone expected the Tegrian army to be this legendary force they've been hearing about for weeks.
Troops that never tire, whom weapons do not touch.
That's the one, thanks to the rumored powers of the Blue Mage. But the force at Lamona was clearly not that unstoppable army. They were just men.
So, if the previous Tegrian forces were magically protected, and suddenly this group wasn't?
It means the Tegrianis were set up to lose.
The Blue Mage, Avylos, deliberately allowed them to be slaughtered.
Yes. And this single fact, the fraudulent nature of the war itself, completely flips the ethical dilemma for Dhulyn and Parno. It forces this immediate seismic pivot based entirely on their professional code, the common rule.
The common rule. This is the bedrock of the mercenary brotherhood. It's far more than just a contract.
Oh, much more. It centers on absolute honor and the sanctity of an oath, not just to the employer, but to the brotherhood itself. Parno makes the philosophical stakes crystal clear.
Right. If the war is a trick, continuing their contract to guard the captured Prince Edmir.
Means selling their honor for nothing. He states that the core principle is trust one, trust all. If they can't be trusted to follow their higher code, the common rule, then they're no longer true mercenary brothers. They're
Just killers.
exactly reduced to being just killers.
And that distinction is everything. It's the difference between a professional, honorable soldier bound by a higher moral standard and a simple murderer for hire.
Yeah. They realize that participating in this lie contaminates their entire brotherhood. So breaking their contract to rescue Prince Edmir, even though it's treasonous to the Nisvians.
It becomes the necessary course of action. It's the only way to maintain the integrity and honor of their entire institution. They have to save the prince to essentially save their souls.
Which brings us directly to the two extraordinary individuals making this decision. The partnership between Dhulyn Wolfshead and Parno Lionsmane is, it's essential to understanding how any of this was even possible.
Let's get into them. Dhulyn, the senior brother. She's the wolf's head, the scholar, and the seer. Physically very distinctive.
Very. Pale skin and eyes, with hair the color of old blood, which is a legacy of her Espadrini, or Red Horseman, lineage. She's the perceptive one, sharp, witty, and the undisputed master of the mercenary fighting patterns, the Shora.
And she's often stereotyped, right, as an outlander or a wolf because of her fierce independence and that famous, unsettling wolf's smile.
Right. And then you have Parno Lionsmane, the one they often call the Chanter. He's the physical opposite. Golden-haired, formerly of a high noble house in Imrion.
So he's the public face.
He's the public face. He brings the courtly manners and diplomacy that Dhulyn, that she lacks. But he is also the voice of steady reason. And as the Chanter, his musical skill with the pipes isn't just entertainment, it's a critical communication tool for signals.
Their partnership is a study in dynamic contrasts. They aren't just colleagues.
No, they are mercenary brothers, a formalized bond based on absolute loyalty under the common rule. They rely entirely on anticipating each other's moves, often communicating through incredibly short physical signals.
Like those hand signs.
The hand signs for a follow and watch, or in battle and death. A whole conversation in a single gesture.
So, operating under this immense moral weight of the common rule, their first task is to locate and assess their captive, Prince Edmir, the man they were supposed to be guarding for the Nisvians.
And they find him pretending to be a wounded common soldier. It takes a Dhulyn, maybe 3 seconds, to see right through the facade.
Of course.
Exactly. Dhulyn's perceptive nature, honed by years of mercenary schooling, instantly flags the inconsistencies that would fool a standard soldier.
What does she spot?
The soldier's wearing a jerkin that's significantly too large. He carries the wrong kind of Taliscan blade for a common footman. And the most damning detail.
The book.
The book, hiding a bound volume suggesting scholarly pursuits underneath his leather armor. She names him a little lordling immediately, recognizing that this is all a performance.
When they unmask him, Edmir, who is olive-skinned, dark-haired, and very articulate, reveals this surprising, almost pathetic hidden agenda for his expedition.
Right. This wasn't a standard strategic invasion force at all. He led a small group of nobles because they wanted to experience what it was like to be invulnerable.
They bought the hype.
Hook, line, and sinker. Fueled entirely by the sensationalized stories surrounding the Blue Mage. He confesses that his expedition was betrayed and used as cannon fodder.
This changes the prince's standing in the narrative entirely. He's not a master strategist. He's a naive, curious scholar.
Yeah, someone who got himself and his men used as bait. And now he is essentially a political hostage waiting to be executed to solidify Caspeco's plot and put pressure on Queen Kedneara.
Which makes the mercenaries' decision to save him even stronger. They're protecting an innocent party, albeit a foolish one, from a massive corrupt political play orchestrated by a potentially false prophet. The extraction plan they come up with is just a masterpiece of infiltration and deception. It requires two perfectly synchronized parts.
You've got establishing Dhulyn's unassailable alibi first, and then the extraction mission itself.
And the brilliance of it lies in the fact that the first part relies not on magic or skill, but on exploiting simple human ego.
Dhulyn targets cavalry squad leader Jedrick. The sources describe Jedrick as a man who openly dislikes Dhulyn, but she notes his massive ego and his base instincts are easily manipulated.
She consciously chooses to weaponize the low expectations he has of her because she's a woman.
Right. She makes sure he sees only the woman and not the mercenary brother.
So she sets the stage. She initiates a simple wager over his distinctive red cloak. She gets him thoroughly drunk. and then administers a calculated, highly accurate dose of iocane via the brandy.
And let's be clear about iocane. This isn't just any knockout drug. The sources describe it as a strong sedative that crucially mimics the effects of intense drunkenness and disorientation without causing an immediate deep coma.
So it's ambiguous.
Perfectly ambiguous. It just tips him unconscious onto the cot, but his state can be explained away later.
The cover-up that follows is masterful. It's psychological warfare. It's social engineering. She doesn't just leave him there.
No, she doesn't. Dhulyn, leveraging her anatomical knowledge from her Red Horseman training, applies strategic scratches, bruises, and significantly bites him, once on the neck and once above the right nipple. She understands male psychology perfectly.
And the purpose of these bites, it's insurance, isn't it?
It's total insurance. This ensures that when Jedrick wakes up, confused, disoriented, maybe facing disgrace, his male pride, his ego, his Ambrosian will force him to confirm the details of a passionate, drunken, overwhelming encounter.
An encounter that never happened.
Never happened. But the source material emphasizes that this cover story provides Dhulyn with a solid, undeniable alibi for the entire night. It's an airtight piece of deception rooted entirely in human vanity.
With the alibi secured, we shift to the physical execution. Dhulyn completely transforms her appearance for the night mission.
Right. She ditches her distinctive, recognized Western horseman attire for Parno's dull green tunic, low half boots, and a hood.
And this minimal disguise, coupled with moving during the middle of the second watch, it makes her height and her famous distinct blood-red hair the things that make her instantly recognizable.
Virtually vanish in the camp shadows.
She then employs one of the most specialized mercenary movement patterns in the Brotherhood, the stalking cat Shora.
And this isn't just passive stealth, it's an advanced sensory enhancement technique. The sources detail how this Shora requires slowing the breath, focusing the mind through specific posture, and actively heightening her senses.
So she can distinguish between minor smells like pine resin versus cooking oil.
Exactly. And she can hear Parno's distant, intentional piping signal over the normal camp noise.
And physically, how does the stalking cat Shora allow her to move? The sources say she can move through shadows that appear too small to do so.
It's a complete mastery of proprioception, her awareness of her own body and space.
Yep.
By minimizing muscle tension and focusing her breathing, the Shora allows her to execute these extremely precise, weightless movements.
Like flowing.
It's exactly like that. Imagine shifting from one foot to the next, finding the exact center of balance, so that when she moves from the shadow of one supply crate to the next, she creates no perceptible sound or vibration. She doesn't just use the shadows, she seems to flow into them.
It's during this infiltration, as she's flowing through the camp, that she gets a crucial, chilling warning.
Circling Commander Kispeko's tent, she overhears him speaking alone in this oddly flat and toneless voice to an unseen "my lord."
And the content is undeniable. Kispeko states he will die as he tries to escape.
That flat, toneless voice is a huge warning sign. It suggests that Kispeko is either highly practiced in deception or, more disturbingly, under the magical influence of this "my lord."
It confirms the assassination plot is already in motion.
It does. It gives Dhulyn and Parno zero margin for error.
So Dhulyn continues to the prince's tent. Parno has already prepared the way.
Yes, using his previous patrol rounds to quietly cut the rope on the back of the canvas. Dhulyn slips in and finds Edmir at a camp table. And here is another one of those subtle but critical details about the prince.
He's not reading.
He's not reading the scholarly book she noted earlier. He's writing in a journal.
It reinforces his true nature.
Exactly. His scholarly, creative, introspective nature, rather than the militative persona he tried to adopt. He's documenting, not fighting. It tells Dhulyn that she is saving a writer, not a warrior, which probably just reinforces the moral justification of their whole pivot.
The extraction is successful, but the Nisvian pursuit launches almost immediately.
Of course. Commander Kispeko, acting on my lord's orders, sends Jedrick and 5 archers after them. And the objective is explicit and political execution.
Run that capture.
Not capture. The goal is to blame the mercenaries for Edmir's death, which gives them political leverage against Queen Kedneara.
But Dhulyn and Parno, masters of anticipation, were ready.
Always. They position themselves high in the ancient pine trees along the hunting trails terrain, where their mercenary schooling excels. And this is where their synchronized communication becomes so essential.
Parno uses a small bit of tree bark as an almost imperceptible signal.
A tap that just sounds like a natural noise.
Yeah.
And their synchronized ambush is immediate and deadly.
The sources specifically call out their archery skills, noting Parno's comment on Dhulyn's precision, even with a short bow against a fast-moving target.
And that target is Jedrick, easily recognized by his distinctive red cloak, the one that was so integral to Dhulyn's alibi.
She turns his cloak into a target locator.
She does. Jedrick tries to flee down the road and she hits him in the neck, knocking him clean off his horse.
And she even descends to administer the final sword, ensuring his death is swift.
Quoting the common rule, "I won't leave you to die slowly on the road." Even in a lethal ambush, they retain their honor.
With Kispeko's immediate pursuit thwarted, they realize that just riding north won't be enough cover.
No, they need a better plan. They head toward Jarlkevo, the home of Edmir's Aunt Valaika. But along the way, in the town of Probik, they stop a violent attack.
And this is how they acquire their most vital new ally.
Xenia Zadayu, a player, a dancer, whose entire troupe has been killed.
Xenia is the key to their entire second act. She proposes they travel with her large painted caravan, and the rationale is flawless. It relies entirely on cultural blindness.
No one looks at a troupe of traveling players and sees mercenaries. It's brilliant. It allows them to travel openly, using Edmir's knowledge of court dances and Parno's chanter skills to blend right into the performing life.
And the transformation is meticulous, right? It's strategic. It's designed to negate every single distinguishing feature that define them.
Completely. Dhulyn's distinct blood-red hair and the dark outline of her mercenary tattoos are hidden. She wears a tight bodice, a full skirt, and a blonde wig, making her height and musculature blend into a more, accepted harmless stereotype of a dancer.
They're weaponizing stereotypes.
They are. Parno, the golden-haired noble, grows his beard out to obscure his recognized facial structure.
Yeah.
And Prince Edmir, the most recognizable because of the funeral coins already circulating with his face on them.
Has his hair lightened with powder and his ears pierced with bent wire.
Yeah, to achieve the look of a young, flamboyant court dandy. The entire conspiracy is now hiding not in some safe house, but inside a moving public performance.
The moment the political conspiracy is hidden within the traveling troupe, the threat becomes profoundly personal for Dhulyn.
Deeply personal. The identity of the central villain is revealed. The Blue Mage Avylos is actually Avalon of Forest Plain Clan, an Espadrini, a Red Horseman, and just astonishingly, Dhulyn's first cousin.
This just shifts the stakes completely, from high-level politics to a deeply traumatic tribal conflict.
And the sources reveal Avylos' history, which is rooted in absolute psychological trauma. When he was young, he was made to believe he was Thrusha.
Magically barren or inert.
Yes. By jealous kin, including his own father, Terraville, who wanted to deny him his inheritance. He escaped a tribal slaughter, hid in the woods, and was eventually found by farmers.
That initial profound sense of being nothing, of being magically barren, that defined his entire path to power.
It did. He sought licensing in Tegrian, but the true acceleration came when he acquired the artifact. He used the Muse Stone to unlock the powers those jealous of him had blocked.
So his rise as the Blue Mage, the purveyor of invulnerability, was his dramatic, dangerous revenge against the family that rejected him.
And the family connection deepens even further as they travel. As the mercenaries are on the road, Dhulyn examines Edmir's supposed battle wound and finds a non-reflective reddish oval mark on his lower back, a ghost eye.
And Dhulyn is visibly shaken by this.
She's shaken because she had one too, which eventually faded away. Among the Red Horsemen, these sigils were born by children so their fathers could find them, a mark of lineage and identification.
So this physical link confirms that Edmir's ancestry is directly connected to Dhulyn's tribe.
Right. The danger isn't just a general magical threat anymore. It is historical, it is vengeance, and it is deeply personal for Dhulyn because Edmir is kin to the very people Avylos sought revenge against.
This leads us finally to the core of Avylos' power, the Muse Stone itself. We finally get crucial details on this artifact.
It is a blue crystal cylinder, described in the accounts as being like a Burdenin ice sapphire, thick as a man's wrist and about as long as a forearm.
And Xenia provides the necessary context here. She links it back to performance and ritual.
She does. The stone was stolen from her family. They used a ritual of the stone for prowess, having received it centuries ago from the ancient figures known as the Cades. Xenia confirms that it was traditionally a tool for channeling and enhancing innate talents, not for, generating magic from scratch.
And then Dhulyn, the scholar, takes us deeper. She translates Great Uncle Theron's journal, which was written in this dense scholar's shorthand.
And the journal provides the functional schematic, which is fascinatingly technical. It details that the stone has two ends.
Describe those for us.
On one side, you have the marked end. This is carved with specific symbols corresponding to defined abilities: seer, finder, mender, healer, and the lens. These are innate, established talents.
Okay, and the other side?
The other side is the mage end, which is carved with symbols Avylos drew in the air, these abstract magical sigils that Dhulyn recognizes from her trance visions.
What's most critical, though, is the operation. Darren's journal explains the mechanism.
The stone is manipulated using specific musical phrases, or chants the opening, the closing, and the mysterious null chants. These chants cause an internal cylinder to turn, aligning different marks with the lens to channel power.
And this is a crucial analytical point, right? It connects back to Parno's role as the chanter.
It really does. The need for precise musical manipulation suggests that magic in this world, at least via the stone, is not about raw, explosive power, but about highly controlled, intentional, and harmonic channeling.
Performative magic.
Exactly. It's a performative, ritualistic magic, and Parno, with his chanter training, is actually uniquely positioned to understand this kind of power dynamic, even if he's magically inert himself.
So the journey takes them to Jarlkevoso House, the home of Edmir's Aunt Valaika. But their cover is paper-thin. They walk right into another layer of political betrayal.
Valaika's consort, Silria, is revealed to be communicating with Avylos via a magicked, blank book of poetry.
Avylos is utilizing all his resources. Having located Edmir at the Gamekeeper's Lodge, he demands his assassination.
And Silria's motivation is intensely tragic. It makes her act of betrayal heartbreaking. She had previously made a promise to the Blue Mage to save her frail son Janek, who was plagued by illness. Avylos weaponizes this maternal instinct with just surgical precision.
He communicates the ultimate coercive demand is a sentence that truly stops the heart.
Does your son walk? Does he take food? Does he breathe the air? Grow? Laugh? Do you wish this to continue?
The sources note that Silria just sinks to her knees, realizing the ultimate horrific price of her bargain.
So Silria attempts the murder using sleep suggestion. It's a stage trick, as the sources note, which Avylos had weaponized. It doesn't require innate magical talent, only intense focus and psychological leverage.
She instructs Edmir and Zanya to believe they killed Edmir and hid the caravan.
But the rigorous training of the mercenaries and Zanya's theatrical experience pay off. Dhulyn's schooling, which trains them to be acutely sensitive to tone, body language, and intent. It's all activated.
And Edmir and Zanya realize Silria is acting under a trance or suggestion?
Yes, they note that her voice sounded exactly like the mind-controlled city lord Zanuck back in Probik, who was also under Avylos' influence. They recognize the psychological mechanics of the performance.
So they feign cooperation.
They do. It ensures Silria believes the deed is done and that her son is safe, for now. It buys them critical time while she remains the Blue Mage's unwitting puppet.
The conspiracy now draws Dhulyn directly into Avylos' web. Following the successful deception at Jarlkevoso, Dhulyn encounters her cousin, Avylos, at the royal house of Baland. And this moment of recognition, it's powerful enough to override her years of mercenary discipline.
It is. Seeing his distinct red horseman red hair and maybe recognizing some deep, forgotten kinship, Dhulyn impulsively calls him cousin in the old tribal tongue.
And Avylos immediately uses this.
Immediately. He recognizes her as kin and, more importantly, recognizes the potential power of her mark, her sight. He uses this encounter to gain control, confirming their shared tribe lineage.
But Dhulyn is still a disciplined mercenary. She uses the opportunity to infiltrate his highly protected wing at the royal house.
Right. And as she rides away from Parno, we see the subtlety of their communication system in action. She stretches up her right arm, first extending her thumb and index finger.
The signal for follow and watch.
And then she immediately closes her fist. The signal for, in battle, in death. She is warning him that she is entering an extremely dangerous, potentially fatal situation.
Avylos, for his part, recognizes the strong manifestation of power he felt when she took his hand. He begins to see her not just as kin, but as a massive asset.
Potentially too valuable to kill or sacrifice to the stone immediately. However, he needs to neutralize her mercenary knowledge, her training, and her loyalty to the common rule.
So he performs a trance on her.
He does, to access her sight, seeking to harness her powerful visions for his own ends. Dhulyn sees visions of Avylos as a young boy drawing light symbols, celebrating that he is ne format srusha.
I am not barren.
Exactly. And other scenes related to the stone's acquisition and use. This trance is a critical, deliberate step in reinforcing her trust in him while he tries to exploit her power.
After the trance, Dhulyn attempts the steal. She's determined to destroy the source of the corruption.
She uses her wire lockpick, a specific tool purchased from a jeweler in Cabrera to open the casket containing the stone. And she notes Avylos' strangely inconsistent defenses. She calls it an economy of magic.
What specifically does she mean by that, by economy of magic?
It's the contrast between the highly complex, powerful avoidance magic protecting the door of the room itself, and the simple, mundane brass lock on the casket holding the most dangerous item.
So she speculates that he doesn't have the innate power to sustain complex magic everywhere.
That's her theory. That he's conserving his channeled power from the stone. It undercuts the idea of him as this all-powerful, inexhaustible mage.
So she decides to test the Muse Stone cautiously, relying on Theron's journal. She uses the null chant.
Illis Cantanil.
Right. And she believes it to be safe, as the journal only described it as causing the internal cylinder to turn. She aligns the sear mark with the lens, trying to understand its operation.
And the result is not null. It is a catastrophic magical backlash. A massive light and energy release fills the room, triggering these overwhelming visions of possible futures and pasts. It just overwhelms her entire system.
When she wakes up on the polished oak floor, her world is gone.
Complete memory loss. Avylos finds her immediately and reinforces a false narrative, that she is his kinswoman recovering from a fever caused by Town Man.
And crucially, she looks at the area where her mercenary badge used to be tattooed on her temple, and she sees only scars, not the symbol.
Her identity, defined by the common rule in her training, is magically erased.
This is the crisis moment. Meanwhile, Parno and Xania learn Valaika and Edmir are arrested. The danger has escalated.
Yeah, Parno realizes Dhulyn is in grave danger, not just of being killed, but of being permanently subverted and weaponized by Avylos. So he and Xania infiltrate the magically protected wing.
They have to bypass the magic door.
They do. They employ the sable monkey Shora, a rare pattern designed for stealth and spatial awareness, to find a path through the specific avoidance magic on the wall, successfully bypassing the main magical defense.
Parno then confronts the memory-wiped Dhulyn in the workroom. This is the heart of the emotional and tactical conflict, a duel that is less about swords and more about philosophy.
And Dhulyn is immediately hostile, highly aggressive, deadly. She's trying to kill the town man intruder.
This is a duel of pure, refined instinct versus conscious thought.
It is. Dhulyn's body still executes the Shora movements with oiled silk perfection. And Parno immediately realizes this profound philosophical truth. While she consciously believes she is Avylos' kin and not a mercenary, her training persists.
The body remembers who you are, even if you do not.
That's the line from the sources. And Parno fights defensively, constantly talking and questioning her, naming their shared history, challenging her identity to force her into conscious analytical thought.
He's using rhetorical combat as a deliberate strategy.
Right, to interrupt the instinctual, magically enforced responses. He notices she often pauses or stutters slightly on the word think, a residual training trigger drilled into them by their schooler.
As Dhulyn presses the attack, Parno finds himself cornered against a wooden bench. This is his desperate final move.
He leaps onto the bench to gain a moment's height advantage and begins the older brother Shora. We need to pause here because this is the critical final detail this deep dive requires.
Absolutely. The older brother Shora. This is a unique, specific fighting pattern. Why is it so crucial in this moment?
It's not just a set of moves. It's a shared, deep memory. It was taught to Dhulyn by their schooler, Dorian the Black, specifically for fighting opponents taller or stronger than her when she was a child.
It focuses on footwork, using the opponent's momentum, closing the gap.
Exactly. By deploying this specific, intimate Shora, Parno is appealing directly to her physical memory of their childhood training together. It is an argument made with the body, not the mind.
And it's combined with the emotional anchor.
Yes. As their eyes lock over the crossed swords, a tableau of their entire past relationship, Parno whistles a familiar four-note tune. The combination of the deeply physical memory of the Shora and the emotional trigger of the whistle. It shatters the magical block.
Her vision clears, her memory floods back.
And her mercenary badge reappears instantly on her temple, whole and unscarred. The identity is restored, proven to be intrinsically linked to her training. Dhulyn, the Wolfshead, is back.
While Parno and Dhulyn were engaged in their life-or-death confrontation, Xania, who had slipped behind the work table, was using Theron's journal to manipulate the stone.
Right. And Dhulyn's subsequent analysis is that the massive power wave she triggered earlier, combined with the likely second one triggered by Xania, overwhelmed and drowned Avylos. He was seen kneeling and laughing, full of light, just before he disappeared. He didn't survive his own power trip.
The immediate political fallout is dramatic and chaotic. Queen Kedneara Edmir and Kara's mother dies.
Officially, the cause is declared the same inherited ailment that plagued her father. But it's brought on by shock and stress from the recent events, and most crucially, the sudden vacuum created by the disappearance of the Blue Mage.
The mage's sudden removal leaves the country politically and militarily unstable.
Immensely unstable. And this brings the focus squarely onto Princess Kara. Recognizing the immense risk of a power vacuum, Kara immediately confronts Edmir. Given the massive confusion created by Conspecco's plot and Avylos' comprehensive web of lies, the populace is just deeply divided.
We need to unpack that division. What exactly was the public narrative about Edmir at this time?
The sources confirm the public uncertainty was overwhelming. The propaganda machine had worked overtime. People were split between believing Edmir was truly dead and the person they saw was a magically created clone,
Or a well-funded imposter.
or that he was a well-funded imposter trained by mercenaries to steal the throne. Kara uses this political reality as her primary argument. She contends that Tegrian, reeling from a magically induced peace and then the shock of Avylos' defeat, cannot afford more doubt or a succession war.
She argues that her established presence and known loyalty make her the only stabilizing force.
It's a powerful, calculated move based purely on political necessity. She's trading her brother's rightful claim for national stability.
And this is the massive turning point for the little lordling.
It is. Edmir, having found a taste for life outside of the court, a life where he was valued for his wits and skill as a dancer and writer, not his title, listens to Kara's stability argument and agrees. He realizes his true calling is not the crown.
He makes the choice that defines his future. He asks Xania, what use is a playwright without a troupe?
He actively chooses Xania and his craft over the contested throne, accepting Kara will be the new ruler. He trades a life of treacherous political burden for one of genuine, fulfilling purpose.
As for the magical debris left behind, Dhulyn, the scholar, makes a pragmatic recommendation.
She advises sending the Muse Stone, now drained of power and potentially inert, along with Great Uncle Theron's detailed journal, to the Scholar's Library of Valdemar for proper study and containment.
And Xania agrees.
Immediately, having witnessed the stone's terrifying capabilities and having lost her family while searching for it, she agrees, choosing to rely on her own talents instead of dangerous borrowed magic.
This circles us back to the core themes of identity and power, providing the final analytical insights from the source material. Dhulyn provides this compelling analysis of Avylos' downfall, explaining why the Muse Stone killed him, but not her.
She suggests that Avylos had no native innate magic, only borrowed or channeled power, which he likely stored and amplified using the stone, specifically to overcome that deeply damaging belief that he was Thrusha.
So his greatest feat, psychologically, was overcoming the narrative of his own barrenness.
I think so. But because the power was purely external and channeled, when the energy released from the stone erupted, it didn't just push him aside, as it did Dhulyn, whose sight is innate and merely focused by the tiles.
Instead, the raw power completely destroyed Avylos. It overwhelmed his system because he lacked the internal structure to manage it.
Exactly. Conversely, Dhulyn's identity was proven to be intrinsic. The memory loss confirmed that her mercenary schooling, the physical muscle memory of the Shora, and her adherence to the common rule were so fundamental, so deeply ingrained by training, that they persisted even when her conscious self was wiped clean by magic.
Her identity wasn't what she remembered.
It was what her training and body retained. The common rule wasn't a choice she made, it was who she was, even when she forgot.
And the sources offer this remarkable study of how identity is formed and retained.
They really do. The markers, the inherited ghost eye, the visceral memory of the Shoras, and the memory loss reversal underscore that identity is rooted not just in conscious recall, but in our deepest loyalties and the physical training that forms us.
Dhulyn's unscarred mercenary badge reappearing is the ultimate visible manifestation of that internal truth.
It absolutely is.
And that really is the core takeaway for you, the listener. In this narrative driven by powerful, weaponized magic, honor, and self-knowledge, proved stronger than power channeled from an external source.
Right. Edmir traded a difficult crown for a fulfilling purpose. Dhulyn faced an identity crisis brought on by magic and regained her entire life by embracing her training and her partnership.
It's a profound testament to the power of one's chosen kind.
We must leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over until our next deep dive.
Okay.
If the Blue Mage, Avylos, spent his life trying to overcome the trauma of being told he was Thrusha, magically barren, and if his magic truly was only borrowed and channeled from the stone,
Then was his entire political and military campaign, the promise of invulnerability, the manipulation of courts, the deception on the battlefield, was it all merely a sophisticated, lethal performance?
A performance fueled by the Muse Stone and his intense lifelong need for psychological validation. Is the greatest magic not power, but the ability to make others believe you have it?
Something to ponder.